The Pakistan schoolgirl shot by the Taliban is now recovering in hospital in Britain. Is she an inspiration to other young Muslim girls, or has her tragedy been hijacked by those who want to undermine the Taliban and attack Muslim values in general? Hello and welcome to The World This Week with me, Phil Rees. The story of Malala Yousafzai has filled newspaper columns and the airways here in the West over the past week. But it has also dominated the Pakistan media, which has reacted with widespread revulsion over the shooting of the 14-year-old by a Taliban gunman. While a significant sector of public opinion in Pakistan has always felt that the Taliban had a right to defend their lands against Western military intervention, will those people now turn against the Taliban? Well, that's our first discussion. In part two, the shooting has once more raised the issue of gender rights and segregation in an Islamic country. The American singer Madonna revealed last week that she had a Malala tattoo on her back. Well, which value system did Malala stand for? And is education for girls a universal right? That's in 25 minutes. Well, Malala Yousafzai became widely known as a campaigner for girls' education in Pakistan as a result of a diary she wrote for the BBC's Urdu service. She described life under Taliban rule in the Swat Valley when they prevented girls from attending school. The Pakistani Taliban has claimed responsibility for the attack, by the way, and vowed to kill her again in a press release issued to the media there. Well, here's Emily Churchill with more.
Pakistani schoolgirl Malala Yousafzai was flown to England on Monday and is being treated at a specialist hospital in Birmingham. The 14-year-old activist was shot in the head by a Taliban gunman last week as she sat on a school bus in the Swat Valley of northwest Pakistan. The Pakistani Taliban described Malala as a spy of the West and said that they had targeted her for speaking out against them. The teenager was awarded Pakistan's highest civilian honour after launching a campaign for girls' education. Across Pakistan, tens of thousands of people have taken to the streets in support of Malala and in anger at the Taliban. Some observers think the arguably unprecedented public outcry against the Taliban could spell the beginning of the group's demise in Pakistan. The Pakistani government is hoping that offering a reward of around $1 million might help them to find the Pakistan Taliban spokesman, Ahsanullah Ahsan.
मैं 10 करोड़ रुपए की बाउंटी उसके सर पे अनाउंस कर रहा हूँ कि जो उसको 10 करोड़ की कि जो उसको पकड़ेगा उसको 10 करोड़ रुपया और मैं आइडेंटिफाई करने वालों को हाईएस्ट अवार्ड भी दूंगा इसलिए कि हमें इनका खात्मा करना है.
But some have questioned the government's response to the attack on Malala, suggesting they might use it to justify military intervention against the Taliban in North Waziristan. The Tehreek-e-Insaf party, led by former cricketer Imran Khan, has criticised the attention given to Malala compared to the victims of US drone attacks. Khan, speaking here at a rally against the use of drones, caused a stir when he told journalists that the Taliban were fighting a holy war in Afghanistan. He was speaking during a visit to Malala in a hospital in Peshawar. Emily Churchill, Islam Channel.
Thanks, Emily, for that report. Well, I'm very pleased to have in the studio Javed, the Secretary General of the Pakistan Press Club here in London and British correspondent for the Dunya News Group. We also have Asim Khan, the London President of the PTI, Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, the party led by the cricket star Imran Khan, who we saw in that report. And on the phone, Mr. Hassan Bukhari, the UK President of the governing Pakistan People's Party. Javed, if I could start with you, I mean, obviously, Pakistan media has really taken this case on board in a way that perhaps it wouldn't have in bygone days. I mean, do you think that it will change anything, or has anything changed in terms of Pakistan mentality about matters like this?
Thank you very much, Phil. One thing which I want to clear you that as a whole, Pakistani nation is in favor of education. The area which you are talking about, the KPK, it's in the Swat region. There are some problems, but these problems occurs after the Afghan war. Before that, it was a very peaceful area. When you talk about the Malala Yousafzai, she have become a symbol of courage in Pakistan society. Just 14 years of age, and she's talking against Taliban from last 3 years, 3 or 4 years. It have given a very emotional touch to Pakistani nation. If you see the common man, the common Pakistani, the common women of Pakistan, they are all very sad. They are, because it have highlighted the plight of the girls, the women in that region, and also and the Taliban, if you say they don't enjoy too much support in Pakistan, but in West media shows that always highlight the negative side of the story. In this story, which I am seeing the first time, the Pakistani media as a whole, the Pakistani society, I will say 90%, 90 to 95% Pakistani have condemned it. But on the other side, they are also demanding that the persons who have been killed in drone attacks, who have been killed on the others from the American sides, they must also be condemned. But it have given a new dimension in the Pakistani history that everyone as a whole now criticizing Taliban.
Well, before we talk about the drone attacks, and I know your party has spoken out, as we saw in Emily Churchill's report there, but before we talk about that, do you feel that this has given a sense of empowerment to Pakistani people, where perhaps, you know, it's said, isn't it, that 200 families run Pakistan, and perhaps that the average person, despite nominal democracy, doesn't really have a voice? Do you think this might change that?
I think you have to sort of look at it sort of both sides, that in issues like that happens and gets a global coverage as well. There will be some sense of empowerment, but it's going to be gradual. I mean, Imran Khan, it has taken him almost 15 years to actually bring that awareness where people can actually start to see, especially the youth, that where they actually want Pakistan to be heading towards. And Malala's incidents basically, but having said that, it has been condemned by everyone around in Pakistan. But you also have to sort of pay attention to the fact that in drone attacks, I mean, you had 80 students just like Malala, just younger than her, were killed in a drone attack in Fatah areas. Then you have people being killed in Karachi, all over the place. So I think the world media and the Pakistani media should have and needs to actually react with the same revulsion as well as they've reacted to Malala's incidents. Only then.
So why do you think then that it has that her shooting has, as it were, provoked so much reaction in the West and in Pakistan? Why?
I think one of the first thing is that she was obviously, I mean, raised her voice in 2009 when she was writing the blog for BBC, and she's a very courageous girl. And she stood up for the education is one of the most fundamental right for any child, not just Pakistan, anywhere around the world. And Islam has emphasized heavily
the sentiments of the large majority of Pakistani society to speak out and, by praising this young girl, they are actually saying that, we are not going to accept and tolerate this kind of domination of these and dictation of Taliban like-minded forces in Pakistan to push the society backward.
Okay, well, I mean, viewers, those not of Pakistani origin might just remember that, Islamization did take place in the Zia al-Haq. We heard that, 25, 30 years ago. I mean, do you think, as a Javed, that in a sense that is, that as it were, the fear and the voice of the Taliban, which maybe had silenced people in Pakistan, that what we just heard from Asim Bukhari, that in a sense there's been that people are now able to, the fear factor has been lifted? No.
Now it's the first time that Western media is giving coverage to these stories. Before that, if I am a common Pakistani, I know my family, I know my friends, they are all against Taliban. Not even a single person from my family, my friend, from my relatives, they are pro-Taliban. This is the.
But were people scared to speak out in the way that?
There is no scare. People in Pakistan, they speak out against the Taliban. But there were some, you can say, the Western media have never given the coverage to these voices of common Pakistanis. This is the first time that Malala have been given so much coverage.
The Pakistani media has been reporting it as well. It's not just the Western media.
The Pakistani media are already speaking against the Taliban, but in what they are doing, you have to differentiate between the Taliban. There are two kinds of Taliban. One Taliban is they are from Afghanistan. They are fighting against America, and the other is Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, which has been banned by the Pakistani government. In them, there are criminal elements. They are involved in drug trafficking. They are involved in the crimes. They are involved in hijacking for kidnapping for ransom as well. They are criminals. They are portraying themselves as a Taliban, or they are saying that
there have been close ties, we know, between the Pakistan government, security apparatus, and aspects of the Taliban. That's been established now, and Pakistan,
that's why thousands of Pakistani soldiers have been died in last 10 or 10 years. Taliban attacking Pakistan Army's headquarters. That's so.
Well, no, but I mean, given the revulsion
why
of the
they are
public,
attacking if they have so much close ties with these Taliban? Why they are attacking on the Pakistan Army establishment? Why they are attacking generals and why they are killing these Pakistani soldiers over there?
Well, you don't think that there are ties? I mean, you think those have been...
There are allegations, but again, I'm saying there are two types of Taliban. One type of Taliban in Afghanistan. They are part of a geopolitics.
Sure.
So, and you can say there are some links, and that links were developed when the Afghan war was going on. That link were developed with the help of CIA, and CIA was the mastermind.
Okay.
They funded them. So
okay, but I suppose the point is, and whether we, exactly what the links are or have been between, the Taliban and the Pakistan government, I think the point is here, will an event like this force the government in a way, as in calm, to sever those links a little bit, because it'll force it to look its people in the eye and say, we're actually allying ourselves, or at least our military doctrine, which means that they need to have an influence in Afghanistan, means they're allying themselves with people who are basically brutal murders or attempted murders of children.
I think it has started that debate. Obviously, the Pakistani nation has created that impact, and then the political parties have to take that forward. But in the next couple of months, I do not actually, we in PTI, we do not see that change happening, because there are so many other issues that are far bigger dimensions as well that are actually taking place. For instance, I mean, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but there are all sorts of things. I mean, if you look at the global level, the US elections are taking place as well. Americans are worried about their exit strategy as well. They need to ensure that they have something positive, they have something beneficial to tell to the audience as well, that actually we got rid of the mess and the war has ended. But you also have to go back in time as well, that all these things that have taken place, this is a reaction of things that have happened 10 years ago, 12 years ago, 20 years ago. It were the same people. The West actually, the US actually gave them all the support and all the rest as well. Then there was a gap. And within those gaps, then obviously Pakistan, the political infrastructure was so weak, and the military takeovers time after time actually created that need that you actually, when you have situations like that, how do you deal with it? After all these discussions and debates, the major issue is how do you deal with people
but your government, I mean, the Pakistan government, military establishment for years has believed in strategic depth, that it needs to have influence in Afghanistan, particularly with its neighbor, as it were, the large neighbor India to the west. And as a result of that, it has consistently felt it needed to ally itself with a group like the Taliban.
Well, I think in that case, they really have to rethink that the concept of strategic depth again as well. Because Afghanistan, basically, you cannot have an unstable Afghanistan. Afghanistan has to be peaceful and prosperous for the whole region. Because whatever that happens in Pakistan, because of the tribal belts and affiliations, it has its impact in Pakistan as well. And as we were saying earlier on as well, that there are different, you have to differentiate which Talibans are we talking about. I mean, there's the criminal lot as well, there is the groups which actually may not have nothing to do with those ideology, but they get the headline news. So at the moment they mention, I mean, we're from the Taliban. So, and the problem is this for the governance as well, that they really have to sit down, and all the political parties as well in government, and so far they haven't done nothing.
Okay, well, let's put that to the Pakistani People Party, Hassan Bukhari. I mean, do you think that the government should make a a clear-cut sort of separation between, as it were, the Pakistan's military establishment and the Taliban, and it's never really done that, has it?
Well, I think that Pakistan, so because of its geographical where it is, and is obviously about what goes on in the neighborhood, will always be concerned what happens to India, what happens to Afghanistan, Iran, or for that matter, any other country. With India, we have a special issue of Kashmir, which obviously Pakistan, we believe that, that was forcefully occupied. So obviously we got our very strong views about that. But after saying that, I'll go back to my previous comment and say that this kind of active intervention again starts in 80s under Zia. And I think it was the time when the Soviet Union and Americans were fighting their proxy war in Afghanistan. And I'll call it a proxy war because, it was at that time that Pakistan got directly involved in it. ISI actually grew and got strength in those years. Millions of dollars, American dollars, were being distributed through our ISI officers. So it's that period when a Pakistani military establishment and Pakistani agencies got fully embroiled in the thing.
Well, yeah, but the question is, and maybe perhaps sorry, Hassan, we'll come back to you in a minute. I mean, Asim Khan, I mean, the question is, I suppose, when will they become unembroiled? I mean, it's been a long time.
Well, the thing is, Phil, that the Pakistani government has passed numerous resolutions that, well, we will not allow our land to be used. There will not be any drone attacks and things like that. What happens? I mean, Bob Woodward has clearly mentioned in his book, the Zardari said, well, you guys may worry about collateral damage. I'm not worried. The thing is all these things that is happening place is the mistrust that people have over the governments, and it cannot be actually, the current ruling political party, PPP, cannot actually take comfort in this fact that, well, it happened in the past. What is the present government doing now? There is human right violations, there is criminal sort of violations as well. At the same time, you have so many children are being killed to death in Waziristan that the world has just moved away. I mean, and what happened 2 weeks ago was the international media did pick it up, and now Imran Khan is going to be protesting in front of the UN on 26th of October as well, to make sure that this issue is not Pakistan's issue. It destabilizes everything, and you have to obviously reaffirm the belief that this has to be eradicated.
Well, I mean, as a Javed, do you believe in a way, and many viewers may recall, of course, the death of Nida Sultan in Tehran in 2009, and that was very tragic. You may remember she died, and that was filmed on a phone, but some would say that her death was basically exploited as well. The tragedy of the death was exploited by the West in order to further its own policy interests. I mean, do you get a whiff of that here?
Yes, if you see the Malala incident, the whole nation raised their voice against this incident. But now too much interest from the Western media, because Pakistani people are becoming suspicious. Now there are division as well. If you go on social media, on Twitter, on Facebook, many people are talking about now that why they are giving too much hype to this issue. So with the time, this issue is becoming controversial. There is a now need to stop this issue to becoming controversial. One thing which I see as a journalist, all the political parties, they are trying to gain their political mileage. In my view, no one is sincere with this issue right at the moment, because elections are just 5 or 6 months away in Pakistan, and everyone, if you see the KPK region, everyone is trying to focus on these votes because they are religious people over there. So it's going to be politicized.
It's become a political football inside Pakistan.
Yes,
yeah. And it's not a small issue, because it ties in with all the other things. It ties in with what the governments of the past have done and what the current government is doing. It ties in with all the ideology with which the Pakistan has collaborated with the USA for the last 12 years. Everything ties in. Yes, I mean, we cannot actually just say that it's just because the Western media has picked it up, there has to be some element of conspiracy as well. But the fact of the matter is that it has to be resolved, and it has to be resolved by the people of Pakistan and by those political parties who are responsible for taking those decisions. So we have to actually move forward. We cannot be talking around it. We need to seek solutions.
Well, I suppose let's put that point perhaps finally to Hassan Bukhari. I mean, I think the point that, is being made in the studio is the way that probably many 14-year-old girls have been killed by American drones in recent years, and that, the Pakistan government has been largely silent about that.
Well, I think that, obviously Pakistan government and Pakistan People's Party is openly actually condemning all attacks, drone attacks. The issue has been raised in the UN. Pakistan American ambassador was called and protesters made. So Pakistan government for the first time is actually openly speaking about that. But I don't think that these two issues are mixed. And some people are deliberately trying to mix the two issues. It is now a Pakistani war. These Taliban and terrorists are actually attacking our military establishment, innocent people, suicide bombing and killing innocent Pakistani people. And it cannot be linked with drone attack. That has to stop. And I think that the problem is that some Pakistani political parties actually do not openly speak against Taliban and condemn them. And I think that my friend was talking about PTI. I mean, they went up to Tonik and they were going to go to North Waziristan, but they packed their bags and ran back. I don't think that they're openly talking. They talk about talking to, having a dialogue with Taliban. Nobody's against that. In fact, Pakistani Information Minister invited Imran to start those dialogues.
Okay.
But this is all political capital they're trying to get out of it. Political parties need to stand up for Pakistan and Pakistani people for moderation. They should be talking about education, business development, science and technology development, and not give room to religious bigots. That's the only way for us to move forward.
Listen, I'm afraid we've, thank you very much for that, Hassan Bukhari. I'm afraid we're coming to a short break. Thanks to all our guests for informed debate here.